Week 2, Future of the Game, of our Future of the Game special feature series. And this time we're focusing on the system. Now, the FA Commission set up a new 4-point plan to boost English football. This was from back in May 8th, 2014. The creation of a new tier within the Football League to accommodate Premier League B teams was at the heart of the Football Association Commission's 4-point plan to boost English football. The review also called for a ban on non-European players play outside of the top flight and a reduction in non-homegrown players in Premier League squads. It also wants to develop strategic loan partnerships between clubs. The suggestions are a response to a growing lack of English talent. Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City are among clubs that have already shown a lot of interest and enthusiasm, in inverted commas, for a new league for B teams. FA chairman Greg Dyke told a news conference. According to the review headed by Dyke, only 32% of starters qualified to play for England in the 2012-2013 Premier League season, compared to 69% 20 years ago. The Commission's proposal set an ambitious but realistic target of increasing the number of English players in the Premier League to 45% by 2022. The FA's report added, this is still lower than the figures being achieved in Germany and Spain today, but it would take English football back to a figure last achieved in 2000. England manager Roy Hodgson said he welcomed the proposals, but he added, I am just one voice of many who have contributed to this important study, and I hope the debate that has been provoked can lead to some real developments in our game. The most controversial proposal would be establishing a new League 3 in 2016-2017 made up of 10 Premier League B teams and 10 football conference sides. B teams could be promoted and relegated between Leagues 1, 2, and 3 and the conference, but could not play in the championship and must always be at least one division below the full side. They would also be barred from entering domestic cup competitions like the League Cup and FA Cup. The B team squads would require 20 out of 25 players to qualify for the homegrown rule, and no non-EU players would be allowed. 19 players would have to be under 21. The Commission also recommended a phased reduction in the number of non-homegrown players in the Premier League from 17 to 12, reaching their target by 2021. A cap of two non-EU players per squad had also been proposed, plus a ban on non-EU players outside of the Premier League. Greg Dyke said, coming back to that, the strategic loan approach is designed to allow clubs from the top 2 English leagues to loan players to a lower division partner club to enable greater opportunities for 18 to 21-year-old English footballers. Dyke said this isn't about players even for 4 years' time. This is for players for 10 years' time. This is to win the 2022 World Cup, by which time I'll be long gone. He added there was a lot of enthusiasm from big clubs. I don't know. I don't care.
When he says, I'll be long gone. I'll be gone to November. I'll be gone to November. I'm just
There's a joke there, but
really?
Liverpool, the Manchester club, Stoke, Tottenham, they have no problems with me mentioning them on this, so quite a lot of clubs recognise the problem they have got, he said. The gap between the academy and the first team has widened significantly in 20 years. Many of the clubs we spoke to called this the Bermuda Triangle or black hole of English football. We're gonna be a black hole! Sorry. Had a balls of steel moment there. Oh, no. Yeah, there's not an Bermuda. No. I can't coin an acronym.
Just no.
But anyway, in response, the Football League said the review may not contain a solution that is acceptable at the current time. However, it said it would continue to engage with the Commission to establish whether there is a solution that meets its stated objective, but does not leave the Football League carrying a disproportionate or unreasonable burden. The FA Commission was made up of Dyke, Hodgson, former England managers Glenn Hoddle and Howard Wilkinson, plus England internationals Rio Ferdinand and Danny Mills. Football League Chairman Greg Clark, Professional Footballers Association Chairman Richie Humphreys, FA Vice Chairman Roger Burden, and Crew Alexandra's Director of Football Dario Gradi were also part of the 10-man commission. It sought contributions from more than 650 people across all levels of sport in England and abroad. The next step was going to be a consultation period on the report's proposals. No firm date was given for a final decision. Now, the B team plan in summary was 10 Premier League B teams and 10 from the conference will take part. 20 of the 25 players in the squad should qualify for the homegrown rule, which has loopholes anyway, which we'll get into. No non-EU players allowed. I'm going to get to that point as well. 19 of the 25 players in the squad should be under the age of 21. And the 4 problem areas identified by the FA Commission were: Area 1, inadequate and insufficient playing opportunities for 18 to 20-year-old elite players at top clubs. Area 2, regulation of the player market in England is not effective in preserving the desired balance of British, EU and non-EU players in clubs. Area 3, coaching and coach development, especially at grassroots level, have not yet reached a satisfactory level and impact. And Area 4, England lags behind in quantity and quality of affordable grassroots facilities, particularly in the provision of all-weather pitches. Now, on the 6th of June 2014, Football League clubs have no appetite for Football Association Chairman Greg Dyke's plan to set up a new tier for Premier League B teams. Football League Chief Executive Sean Harvey said it was not popular. It's fair to say there is no appetite among clubs for the use of B teams or strategic loan partnerships in the football pyramid, he said. Dyke warns that a failure to adopt his plans to improve English football could lead to a bleak future for homegrown talent. At the heart of the FA's commission, 4-point plan was to create the tiered thing that we mentioned. Harvey admitted that other aspects of Dyke's plans were more well received during the 2-hour briefing at the conference in Portugal. They did share his overriding concern about development of young English footballers and supported a number of the report's other recommendations. But we will continue to work with the FA to help find solutions that will be supported across the whole game. And Greg Dyke has actually said that he won't give up on the plans. He told politicians the game is not over yet. He made his comments to the culture, media and sport select committee as part of their bidding process into the 2022 World Cup, which was awarded to Qatar. We'll get into that sooner rather than later, but that was from the 22nd of July. He said I don't rule it out. He said a lot of Premier League clubs and particularly managers read the report and were totally in favour of the analysis. Dyke added that there were too many bog standard foreign players in the Premier League and claimed that in Germany's Bundesliga there was an unwritten agreement about the numbers of domestic players that play in it to get around European employment laws. Now, there's a lot of bones to be picked on this. I'm going to try and take it in somewhat of a reverse order because Greg Dyke saying there's too many bog standard foreign players in the Premier League and claiming that in Germany's Bundesliga there's an unwritten agreement about the numbers of domestic players that play in it to get around European employment laws. For me, I think Greg Dyke's looking at this the wrong way. Him coming out and it's the art of deflection, which you two have accused me of on occasion. But the fact of the matter is, you're deflecting again. Terrible. No, but you're an idiot. But anyway, I'm not deflecting that. But anyway, it's one of them ones where Greg Dyke coming out and saying that in Germany's Bundesliga, there's agreements on domestic players to get around European employment laws. What the hell has that got to do with his plans? It's nothing to do with it. Also, bog standard foreign players. Well, if bog standard foreign players are getting more time than English players, then you've got to look at why. Inflated transfer fees are one thing, and those top clubs that Dyke mentioned, the fact of the matter is they're the ones feeding that machine because they're getting El Cheapo foreign players, developing them into world beaters, and hell, is one of them ones. If you can buy, say, a Cesc Fabregas for 1 or 2 million when he's 15, rather than buying an English player for 10 times that when he's 16 to 18. Simple business logic says you're going to go for the younger, cheaper foreign import.
Forget business logic. Just look at maths. Pure maths.
Yeah, just look at the labour market in England. A lot of cheap foreign labourers come over. A lot of English people, supposedly indigenous English people, want to complain about the foreigners are coming over and taking our jobs. But at the end of the day, if you'd taken the jobs of cleaning the toilets and sweeping the floors, then you wouldn't have it. Then there wouldn't be an issue because someone wouldn't have been able to undercut you in that way. Bearing it, I say that as a second generation individual in terms of my family being from the Caribbean. So it's one of them ones. I'm second generation in my family. But it's why. But the fact of the matter is, inadequate and insufficient playing opportunities for 18 to 20-year-old elite players at top clubs. Have you ever thought maybe those players ain't that elite? Yeah. Maybe it's one of them ones. This is what frustrates me, because you're looking at playing opportunities for 18 to 20-year-olds. No, brethren, you need to be looking earlier than that. You don't develop a player like John Sitton said in PT Meets John Sitton, which is on youtube.com/pitstop. You don't start developing players at 16, 17. And I'm sure Samir Sawney would agree, and Manisha Taylor would agree. They work with children from the ages, and look at Motivate Sports and Fitness, what they're doing in Southall at the moment. Yeah. 7 to 14. By the time it's 16, that's too late. You don't start development then. It's one of them ones. At the end of the day, you start development early. If you want an example of that, just look at puberty. Puberty don't kick in at 16 to 18, does it? It starts earlier. Development starts earlier is my point. But the fact of the matter is, regulation of the player market in England is not effective in preserving the desired balance of British, EU, and non-EU players in clubs. The fact of the matter is, it's that EU players. That's what gets me. No non-EU players allowed. There's not a great deal of non-EU players in the Premier League anyway. The problem is English talent is not being promoted and it's not being developed. So the European Union covers a hell of a lot of ground. Exactly. It's one of them was the fact that you can get a work permit here and then work anywhere in England work anywhere in Europe from what I understand. So the whole we're gonna limit non-EU players, it's a dead argument. It's a dead argument. What? So essentially all you're gonna do is stop anyone from America, South America. Africa, you're not gonna stop Oceania, Asia. You're not gonna stop the influx of cheaper Spanish, Bulgarian, Dutch, German talent coming to England. I'd pick those countries just out of the top of my head as European countries. So again, it's a case of it doesn't compute with me. But also 19 of the 25 players being under the age of 21, again that doesn't necessarily make sense. But also there's 10 Premier League B teams and 10 from the conference would take part. And that is that is kind of a messed up one, because that's unfair on the conference clubs that are there. Because those Premier League B teams, it doesn't say anything about capping the amount of money that the Premier League club can give to the B team. See, again, they're missing the point. Like a broken, to quote John Cena's Basic Thugonomics, like a broken needle, kid, you're missing the point. But for me, the fact of the matter is, that's crazy. The fact of the matter is, it's one of them ones where it's like, I can't get my head around the fact that they're thinking that it's gonna stop this conveyor belt of cheaper foreign talent. It's not going to. And also, I mean, I said, with these Premier League B teams, the B teams are essentially just going to end up like Glasgow Rangers, aka Newco. They're just every season they're going to get promoted, and then it's going to be one of them ones you're just going to and let's say Liverpool have a B team, and was it one of the rules, one of the stipulations was that what's it just not the strategic loans, we're going to come back to that in a sec as well. There was this one about the B team having to be a league below, and it's one of them ones. That's one of them ones where, to me, again, that doesn't make sense, and that can get messy. Because imagine, let's take QPR for instance, who have just been promoted. Let's say QPR have a B team that are in League One. They can't go any higher than that because of the stipulations in this B team proposal. They can't go into the Championship because of that. And then you look at QPR if they're in the Premier League. If QPR were to get relegated to the Championship, then in theory their B team gets relegated from League One to League Two. But what if their B team have just won League One? They're getting relegated based on what their proper team, based on what their A team does. You see where I'm going with this? How it doesn't make sense. To me, it just doesn't make sense. And also, a lack of adequate grassroots facilities. If there is a lack of adequate grassroots facilities, tell entities like Sport England not to cut £1.6 million worth of funding for grassroots football. Am I the only one who's seeing this as weird? Like this is what I don't get. It's all good thinking. Yeah, we need to improve English football and coming up with this stuff. But you really need to think this through. I personally do not think this has been thought through properly, to be perfectly honest. And also the fact, one of the other facts of the matter for me is this whole thing increasing the number of English players in the Premier League to 45% by 2022. That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind that as a target. It's ambitious, it's realistic, fine. But you look at the other end game where Greg Dyke said this isn't about players even for 4 years' time, this is for players for 10 years' time. No, you should be going further than that. You should be looking 10, 20, 30 years into the future, because that's how you build foundations. You don't look 5 to 10 years, you look further than that if you're building the infrastructure of a nation. And also the part of Greg Dyke's quote, this is to win the 2022 World Cup. No, you don't do all of this build-up just to win a trophy in 2022. No, this has got to be a continuous thing. This should not be, the end game should not be Qatar 2022. Because what if we don't win the World Cup? Then what? You look like a fool for saying that was your end game. What if we go out at the quarterfinals? What if we don't make it out of the group stage again? Then you look like idiots. And what if the talent pool hasn't increased by then? We don't live in the world of ifs, buts, and maybes, but at the same time, you do always have to look at what if. So that's my view on it. I could totally understand why the Football League wouldn't go for these ideas. Because at the end of the day, it just keeps the footballing pyramid upside down. It really, really does keep the footballing pyramid upside down, because you know the B teams are going to be smacking up the League One, League Two conference teams all the time, and it's gonna end up as it'll end up like what they're proposing: half a league of B teams, half a league, and then the other half of the league fighting for the scraps between themselves, and it's not fair. It's not fair. But guys, what do you reckon of this before we throw this out to the Skypers?
You know, I do agree with you, but I'm actually going to pause for a moment. I am.
Really, why is it?
No, out of, respect for, those who fought World War One. Those who defend the country, defend our honor, defend our liberties. And I'll answer the question in a minute.
All right. Let's have a little put. Kieran thinks he's directing the show. It's like, but yeah, I mean, but it's one of them ones. We have been asked by the PT. We have been asked by the PT family to have a moment's remembrance in terms of the commemoration of World War One, and we have no issue with that. So, for a minute, we're gonna pause the tunage. So, Jezzy, you wanted to, you're going to have at the B team.
Yeah, I was.
That's from Greg Dyke.
And, I think overall, it's nice that he's come up with a plan. It is. I think it's nice that he's not going to give up on this plan either. But I also think that the plan needs restructure, and I think it needs to be looked at in a completely different way. I actually agree with you when you were talking about, you know, these 10 Premier League teams in this situation where they're essentially going to be having their best youngsters compete in this. They are going to be the only teams that really benefit in this situation, right? Year in, year out, season in, season out, because not only will they have quote unquote better players because the clubs are able to attract those players, right? But they have access to quote unquote better coaches and better facilities. So if you combined all of those advantages versus a player at, I don't know, let's say a conference club that has no money because grassroots football is not being funded, not in the same way as, you know, top flight football, then how are you really developing English talent?
Yeah.
You know,
if anything, it's keeping the pyramid lopsided.
Exactly.
As it already is.
So if anything, you know, we kind of forget about this pyramid thing and make it into more of a circle.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody's even. But you know, as I say, I applaud the fact that he has a plan, but I just think that plan needs to be looked at and amended. I really do. I think that something like that does need to be put in place to aid young English talent, because
but it needs to aid everybody, not just the Premier League teams. Because all it is just Premier League B teams. Yeah. And it's not fair it's legitimately not fair on the other football league side.
No, it's not.
Mate,
and
I already said that
the teams that will benefit are those Premier League teams.
It's basically 20 teams at the expense of another 92. Which is it's not on.
Yeah.
G-Man, you want to jump in on this?
No, I just want to say, you know what? To me, it just seems like it's mind-boggling at the moment what you've just read out, and from reading it as well. It's just there's a lot that he wants to cover. Yeah. And wants to cover it all at once. It seems like the way it's being portrayed, and you know, I think, you know what? You got to look at the basics. The basics are the issue is we have too many substandard foreign players in this country that are taking the position of a lot of young English talent. That's what the fear is from the FA. Yeah. That's what the fear is from us guys here. Yeah. And you know, we've spoken about it many times. Yeah. And you know, to me, there's simpler ways of looking at the issue rather than trying to tackle it with a B League. You know, and then scaremongering by saying, like, you read something out here.
Oh yeah, Greg Dyke saying, it will be if these initiatives are not taken on, I foresee a bleak future for English football. Or something
like the academy system. How long has the academy system been in place? What, 10, 15 years?
Oh, at least.
It's still at its baby steps. To you know, in terms of how many clubs have rarely got theirs swinging and adopted it. You look at the
you look at a team like, say, Chelsea, who have an academy but basically don't use it.
Yeah, well,
those players never make it into the first team. We had that on a Pitch Talk Push Point / Rant of the Week in terms of Chelsea FC and the glass ceiling for young players.
I just want to get a quote where he said something about the gap widening between
the gap widening in the
academy
in the
and the first team have widened significantly in the last 20 years. Many of the clubs we spoke to have called, to me that's a joke. At the end of the day, all that's happened is, you know, in football, and you and Jesse touched on it, a lot of clubs are spending a lot of money on bigger players. They're not giving their youth a chance. And what has to be eradicated is this spending money on bigger players. Yeah. And giving the chance to the youth players. You know, my personal opinion has always been they need to bring some sort of caps in. Yeah. Caps will cap clubs from spending a certain amount of money on players and bring some order to the wage structure, and then bring some order, in my eyes, bring some order to, you know, the linear fashion of how players will progress.
But then the 20 Premier League clubs last season couldn't even agree on some sort of financial fair play initiative. Some sort of loosely based thing on what UEFA do.
True.
They couldn't even agree on that.
True, but because
it's dog eat dog and everyone's out for himself.
Making out players are getting lost in some sort of blue Bermuda Triangle or black what? What? Are you saying no? But making out like players are getting lost, you know, that is absolutely rubbish. Because when you see the likes of you know, for instance, Luke Shaw getting bought for how much?
About 18 minutes.
Chambers getting bought for how much?
Yeah.
Oxlade-Chamberlain getting bought for how much?
Theo Walcott getting signed for how much?
Taking it back for how? Theo Walcott, but taking it back even for Pennant getting bought for how much?
Yeah.
£1 million of 15. How much did you buy Fabregas for?
Why are these?
How much did you buy Fabregas for the same age? At
Precisely.
the same age?
What? $500,000? So it's like, wow, how are these players?
It speaks for
what
itself.
What sort of Bermuda Triangle are you talking about? Because at the end of the day, when you do make these B leagues, and these players then start to get televised and get their own, get exposure. How much are they going to be getting sold for? How are they going to move across the country, let alone abroad, if they try to?
Yeah.
To me, it just doesn't make sense to me, because it's like.
You know what needs to be looked at, don't you? The homegrown rule.
To me,
the homegrown rule has a absolutely huge loophole in it. Even when it first came out, straight away, I think it was Sky Sports who straight away showed there's a huge loophole in it, and that loophole was Emiliano Insua.
To me,
who before he was 21, we signed him at like 15, 16. So the homegrown rule is that you count as homegrown if you've spent 3 or more years in that country before your 21st birthday. So essentially, Fabregas would count as homegrown because you bought him when he was like 15. So you see, they're not looking to close that loophole.
Yeah.
They're just saying about non-EU players. That's good. They're just saying about non-EU players. So again, like a broken needle, kid, they're missing the point.
Yeah.
I think they're missing the point. In my view, anyway.
Yeah, that's why I want to leave it as well. Because I just personally, I think money is a big factor, especially with the younger English talent. And until they sort that out, I think anything that they put in place is still going to be problematic.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We got Kieran Riley who wanted to jump on this, and then Mike Kahneman. But Kieran, have at it, man.
Yeah, the idea of B team, I think it might be a good idea, but I think that should be more for like all the reserve players that are just stuck on the bench all season with absolutely jack all to do. But the League 3 thing, I wouldn't be able to understand. It probably would be a massive money making scheme, but as well as helping the future talent of England, I think it's going to take it will mean that all the non-league teams are going to have to work even harder to get themselves up the leagues if they do incorporate League 3 with League 1 and 2. If you get me.
Yeah, no, I definitely do get you. I mean, it's one of them where it's not as if the non-league clubs aren't working hard already to try and get up leagues. It's not as if they're not trying. But it's just gonna. The fact of the matter is, it's just going to make it even. It's going to make it even harder for them. It's going to make it even harder, as if it's not difficult already. But Kieran, did you want to carry on?
No, that's it.
You know what?
Go,
Big T said something here interesting. We put a status up. Are B teams and the League 3 needed to help the future talent of England, or is it just a massive money making scheme? Yeah. And Big T's actually no. If anything, we need more teams from the conference, and the Conference North and South in the St Johnstone's Paint Trophy. Make the competition more open and encourage more teams to showcase their abilities in a tournament that could win them silverware and a trip to Wembley.
Well, you've just reminded me of something. Actually, you reading out Big T, throwing them T's up.
One half of the tag team champions of the world.
Don't be in the wrong. You just reading out Big T's comment reminds me of a pitch talk push point we had last season. You remember this, guys? No cash for next gen.
Yeah.
So they ain't got the cash for next gen, but they want to start up B leagues. Again, doesn't make sense to me. Why not help out next gen? Because wasn't the intention of that to help under 21 players? Yeah. See again, like a broken needle, some people are missing the point. That is the frustrating thing for me. This is where the PTB in football, the powers that be, have it baffled. I'm sorry, but that's where they have. That is legitimately where they have it baffled. I mean, before we go to Mike Honeman, Sam Greenham, you wanted to jump in on the point Kieran made about reserves, yeah?
Yeah, it was just a quick one. If you get like teams like Chelsea, Man City, for example, they'd have people in their reserves like Stefan Jovetic who'd be going up against League One teams if they did use reserves.
Yeah.
Would that really be fair?
No, not at all. But for us, that's the point. That's the point of the B League's not being fair. It's one of them because those Premier League teams have got so much more resources. It's not fair.
I can understand the under 21s and homegrown English or British players, but if you was bringing reserves into it, bigger teams like that would just absolutely crush lower league sides.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the homegrown rule, as I said, there's a huge loophole within that anyway. So the bigger teams would get it. They would circumvent that easily. So I mean, Mike Honeman, you wanted to jump in as well on this.
Yeah, I've just got something to say to what BT said, and also something else to add as well. Partly what Kieran said as well. What Big T was saying about the JPT is a brilliant idea. I think to see conference teams in the JPT with a chance of getting silverware would be brilliant. Luton showed that the year they got relegated, when obviously they would deduct the 30 points and they went down into the conference but still won the JPT that season as well. I think for conference teams to be able to do that would be brilliant. It's happened in the past with the LDV Vans Trophy. Stevenage were in there as a conference team, and I think they ended up playing, I'm not sure who it was now, a League 2 team League 2 team anyway, and progressing through the competition a little bit. And I think it would work. I really think it would work. But the whole idea of League 3, well, that's totally different for me. I don't think that's going to work at all. It's going to, well, obviously, as a League 2 fan, supporting a team which is up and down, obviously, has been up 2 leagues, then got relegated again just the season gone, and is working back to try and get up to League 1 again at the first attempt. It's going to be a big challenge if League 3 is introduced.
I hear that. I mean, any of you guys want to rebuttal to what Mike has said?
No, I think that's another interesting point that, realistically speaking, again, hasn't really been given enough consideration. And I think, as I say, in terms of the young players in question, it really doesn't help anybody apart from the teams in the Premier League. It's not conducive at all. Like, yes, the players from the teams from the conference will be playing against these players week in, week out. But as I say, we're talking about the other advantages that they have, in the sense of they have access to better coaches, better facilities, so on and so forth. There's no level playing field here. So it really, it's really not about, the development of young players universally, just the development of young players at the top clubs. So, for me, unless you're trying to develop these young players universally, there really is no point. I mean, let's just look at Everton's conveyor belt just for a minute. If we talk about the likes of, say, Wayne Rooney, and more recently Jack Rodwell, and even more recently, you've got John Stones, and you've also got Ross Barkley, right? Those players have come from a club where, realistically speaking, did anyone see those essentially potentially world-class talents coming from there? No.
By the way, I'm glad Ross Barkley signed a new contract at Everton.
As am I.
Very glad. Good.
Right?
Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars.
So what I'm also saying is, for English football to really, really be moving forward, you should have the likes of those kind of players popping up everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to just that, as I say, the Premier League teams. So my issue with the whole plan is this: currently, it's only there to benefit the 10 Premier League teams that's involved, when really it should be benefiting English football as a whole.
Definitely.
And for me, the main way to do that, like I say, you have to put the same money into the lower levels of football, all the way down at grassroots. Otherwise, what are you actually building on?